sort of, to drown our sorrows. No, guys, we're not doing that, because although it was a complete show last night, again, it was just like, it is what it is. Whatever this issue is with away games, we've talked about it at length on our WhatsApp group between myself, Carl, and Marcus. And do you know what? You can let it get to your head, and all the comments on X last night and stuff like that. I think the one thing's for sure is that what's so important now, isn't it, guys, is that we focus on Saturday. It's absolutely crucial to get the 3 points there and make sure then that we at least keep that fortress home park. However we do it, whether it's scrappy, whether we play really well, it's a late goal, it doesn't matter. That's important. And I think, what we want to talk about tonight is just, look, you can't ignore the situation yesterday, and we will touch upon it. But it's very much a case of, what do we look to do? What do we think will happen Saturday? Who's going to be rested, who isn't? Because there's a lot of players, Mumba and Edwards too, Souks and Gibson, that have played those last 2 games, so it's a bit of a, mentally, it's a challenging one, but we want to try and look at the positives. We don't know how long we'll go on for tonight, but we thank everybody that's joined us. And also, when we do finish on here tonight, Andy will switch to his live for Championship chats. So if you want to talk about anything football or still Argyle on there, then you can carry on the conversation, shall we say, straight after. So, so look, I'm not even going to summarise. Andy, I'm going to go straight to you, give a quick synopsis of that, and let's get this show on the road.
Right, it's the same old Argyle away from home, isn't it? Lots of possession and nothing on the end of it. That's all I can say, really. We're sort of toothless away from home. We cannot put that ball in the onion bag away from home. At home, we got the 12th man on our side, and we can do it. Away from home, I know we have got sort of 12th man there in small attendance, but I mean, that was at 1,300 last night at Millwall. Good attendance for a midweek game, away from home, away from Plymouth. So we just seem to be toothless in front of goal. I mean, it could have changed so quickly if that sort of referee had stuck with the decision and given a penalty.
Well, that's the interesting one, Andy, isn't it? Because they've come out, as I shared earlier, with the fact that they're going to apologise for that decision. Now, to put that into context, I was watching it on Sports Plus, and at halftime they showed it, and the linesman. So I'll try and mimic it. So they had the camera behind the linesman. The referee blew, pointed to the spot. And it almost felt like an age, but the linesman, I saw him kept doing this or something with his hand and then put his flag up. So as far as I understand it, if the linesman believes the player is offside, the ball went in his direction, then surely that's an immediate flag up for offside. I can understand the linesman, Andy, for thinking that it might have been a pass from an Argyle player, because Wright stuck his foot in and it did actually come off the inside foot of the Millwall player. But that whole situation, and for them to come out and say they're apologising, Andy, is just don't say anything.
it's those fine margins, isn't it? Sometimes you get the rub of the green, sometimes you get those penalties given to you, and those decisions for you. But most of the time this season, the referees have been, it seems to be against us, don't they? And I'm just going through like green tint glasses here, but if the referee turns around, sticks by his decision, gives that penalty, Argyle go 1-0 up, different game.
And I think you can. Yeah, it's certainly not one. I mean, we don't know. We've got Paul Glover, who's a Millwall fan, in tonight. If you are going to, and if you want to pop in, Paul, then put a request in by all means. But we don't know what's happening in other games and how other decisions are going. But I just find it very strange that this linesman seemed to make this hand gesture. Now, they've got receivers, so all he had to do was press it. But to do this hand gesture and then a few seconds later pick up the flag. But let's not kid ourselves, Marcus. That penalty didn't define the game, although we did. Andy alluded to the fact that we, had a lot of possession. I feel that Millwall let us have that, but in that first sort of 15-minute spell before that goal, Argyle actually looked, creative and threatening. But as soon as that goal goes in, we just seem to have this mental block, Marcus, don't we?
Yeah, we seem to crumble. But the thing is, it's all right having all this possession if there's no end product in the final third.
Yeah.
And that like the wingers don't seem to be able to beat the man. We need somebody like a winger in sort of a Raksaki mould who can take on the defenders and get behind them. But Whittaker doesn't seem to be able to do that. Only once he tried to take on his man and beat his man and crossed it, which isn't good enough.
Yeah, so he was marked, wasn't he? Because Sissoko was missing. Bundu isn't a threat down that left. Let's face it. So he was marked and he was sort of kicked and tripped. But it's still he's just not got that sort of mindset, is he?
I think Whittaker would make a better number 10.
Yeah,
but I would rather see, and I think you've mentioned it yourself. I'd rather have Troy Teagan Finn in that position. With Whittaker in the middle.
Yeah, and then Obafemi on the left.
Yeah, exactly. With Gray up front, because that Gray looked quite dangerous when he came on.
He seemed to want to sort of get the game going, didn't he? He was tracking back and trying to bring the ball forward, but it just felt like they were just, all those subs were just stepping into the unknown, and there was just an empty void. But I agree, as we were discussing it earlier, guys. An evening, Katie Talks Rovers. Good to see you again, Plim Sunny, and all the others that are joining us. But yeah, it's when you think of the situation and Sissoko's out. Did Sissoko make a difference last night? He could have done. I mean, let's face it, the one opportunity Bundu had was getting in behind, linking up with Wright, and potentially or should have got a penalty. But after that, then there was nothing there. But I think with Obafemi's pace and strength on the left, with Whittaker in the middle, and then take a gamble, take a punt with Teagan Finn on the right, I think that could be an interesting forward line, couldn't it?
Exactly, because I mean, he scores a lot of goals. Teagan Finn's quick, and he could beat the man, and that will set us up a lot better. But something needs to change away from home. We've only scored one goal, and apart from that penalty, we didn't really look like scoring. We could have been still playing tonight and still would have scored.
Yeah.
No, and that's where I think that sort of is that first goal, Ryan, isn't it? It just away from home, they let it in, and I mean, I suppose you could look back to Burnley, where we had not the best first half, we had a better second half. We also had Oddbetter and Poulsen who came into the game at the start of that one, so we're a bit rough around the edges at the start. The QPR game, where we obviously went a goal down and a man down and managed to claw back and get an equaliser, and then had the late sending off. So it is a strange situation, and I think there's options on that bench. Is how much of a risk Rooney wants to take. I think some players he has to ask questions of. But if I was a sub, like I said, they came on and didn't do nothing. But I think the mindset of the game was gone. But, with Issaka, with potentially Roberts coming back into the fold, with Finn, with Hatch, all that sort of bench potential, sometimes you just have to say, well, if we're going to go away and maybe not get a result with the regulars, let's just mix it up. But coming into Saturday, and I just want to try and be positive. It's difficult off the back of those two games. But Ryan, coming into Saturday, what would you change and what would you look at, considering several players have played back-to-back games? Edwards, the back four, have all played back-to-back games and been quite heavily hit. What would you look to do on Saturday?
So technically, Joe Edwards is the first person that's never played a Saturday and a Tuesday, like the full 90.
Yeah.
But I think of his age, he needs to have a rest because, we need to push forward. But obviously, who have we got to replace him? It's just.
Well, do you right take a gamble with Poulsen? I mean, this is the other issue, isn't it? If you don't play these players, they're not going to get into the games to be able to get any level of match fitness and readiness. And Edwards, can he do 3 games? And there is a risk he could get injured off the back of that.
This is where I'd play. I would go for Poulsen just to put Edwards on the bench like you do. And if it needs, Sorinalo, another good shout there. Sorinalo's just been frozen out. And
that's a good shout, Colin, evening.
That's better.
I would never. Ogbetter can never play for this club again.
Yeah,
Mate,
you say that.
It's about opinions, isn't it? It's all about opinions. Ogbetter played 40-odd games for Bolton last season, right, and played really well and got to Wembley with them. So he's not a decent. He's not a bad player. He's a pretty decent player.
I would
This
say
League
on
One standard.
I would say on a better
maybe he is, but how are you going to develop it if you're not playing him? Why bring him to the club if you're not going to play him?
Yeah, go on, Marcus.
Sorry, Mark.
I would say on a better. He is a natural left back,
Yes.
and Mumba has been caught out a few times.
Yep.
Who is a
And
natural
also-
right back.
Yeah, correct. That's what he's alluding to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, in Edwards' position, also another player that can play that, which hasn't been mentioned, is Pleggy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is the whole point, and I think it's sort of these players having their chance. I think and I'll pin it back to Ryan again to continue with sort of his thoughts for Saturday. But it was quite clear in that pre-match presser that Rooney and good evening MB Rooney was going to give Bundu the shot in place of Sissoko, and he almost spelled it out that this is his chance effectively. And like I said, apart from that first spell, he just wasn't in the game. He was giving away more touches. The commentators even mentioned it. And for Mumba, and although I've been we've debated Mumba well across the panel. Bundu's just too slow for him, and there was times when he went to overlap and Bundu then passed the ball behind him, and so Mumba plays more effectively with another pacey, creative player. And if he did start with Mumba on Saturday, then I think Obafemi will start on the left either way. I think that could benefit Obafemi, but Ogbetter, I know what you're saying, Ryan, and I think again a player that hasn't had the ability to get regular minutes. You just think to yourself, we've got to mix it up, and try and, sort of play the squad, or else we're going to run a few players down into the ground, be it mentally or physically.
Mike, Mike, can I just interrupt you? Paul Glover, do you want to come up and have a chat about Millwall and how you saw the game last night, mate? It'd be interesting to see your opinion on it. No need, if you don't want it, that's fine too. But if you want to come up and have a chat with us, you're really welcome to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks, Andy. Yeah, so go on, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Ogbetter's only played 2 games for Argyle, and he's not looked consistent. But all players deserve a chance until they're totally out of it. But would you play him on the left and play Mumba on the right?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because what could he do linking up with Whittaker on that right?
I would. If that's his natural position, it makes sense to put him there, doesn't it? And then have Ogbetter at left back.
It might
You've
even
got Edwards
work.
covered for a while, haven't you?
And to be honest, we've got quality across the pitch. Stokes and Gibson, them two are solid. I don't think. They had the mishap against Cardiff, and obviously we've not been consistently good away from home. But don't forget, it's not down to Rooney either. We've had 5 managers of late that have struggled to get away wins.
Yeah, that's what. So that's why I want to just move the focus away at the moment and just look to Saturday, because in the nicest way, on Sunday when we go and do that review, whatever happens in that game, we've got probably our biggest and toughest, one of our other toughest away games afterwards against Leeds. So I want to sort of see what people's views are on how you'd start off and line up on Saturday, being very conscious with the games that we've had and 2 back-to-back away ones with the travel that we have to do. So Saturday, what would you do with Whittaker, Ryan? This whole situation of last night, he struggled. I think it affects him more so when he is man-marked by 2 or 3 players. I get that. I understand that. So he has to try something different. We've said about him going in a number 10 position. What do you think about bringing him inside, and having the likes of Obafemi and even trying Tegan Finn on the right?
I think Tegan Finn would be a good shout, because obviously Rooney's been looking at him, and for a first-year apprentice to be in and around the first team must be something special about him.
Yeah.
And Rooney would know best because obviously he was a youngster at Everton that time when he scored that goal against Arsenal. So it's always good to bring a youngster through. But I want to see Whittaker dropped, in my opinion, because I think he's been overexhausted, and having two men marking him all the time, he's not getting anywhere. So I mean, I'd drop him. I mean, who would I play in that attacking midfield if Tegan Finn on the right and Obafemi on the left?
That's what, because Obafemi started against Luton on the left, didn't he? And actually, a player that we'll come on to in a minute, Haj, who's not really impressed in the last few games. But in that game, and obviously, that was a game he scored in, wasn't it? Was that right with Haj? So, he's got that. Obafemi can be really problematic, and he's not all about show and wanting to step overs and do all this. It's one of those where I think he could really take the opportunity now with two more games that Sissoko's out to try and cement a position on that left side if Rooney doesn't decide to leave it to use him as a striker.
I think, maybe Rami in the cam, and then obviously I would start with Andre Gray up front because
I think so.
Like last night, he was showing that glimpses of, he's not up to full fitness, but give him 45, 60 minutes, see what he does. He might give us a bit of oomph and a kick up the bum that we need.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, Andy, that's, he did come on, like I said earlier, alluded to that, and he did. He was trying to get into the game. It was a lost cause, but you do like to see people at least having a go in that sense. So, with the only options Hardy really up front now, he was on his own, but I think if you use Gray, I think his physicality as well as we know his goal to games ratio is sort of 1 in 3. So. He's only there at the moment till January, so make use of him.
Yeah, I don't see why we didn't try 4-4-2 like Rooney's been used to play. I mean, he played that, he's played that so effectively before. Why can't we play that system? Or 5-3-2, and have two up front rather than just have one man, ploughing a lonely furrow up front. And you've got two players up front that need feeding. And get the ball to them, and that's where the goals are going to come from. I'd have Gray and probably Hardy up front. I wouldn't have Obafemi up front.
No, but to be fair, Obafemi got that goal against Blackburn. He missed that chance, and obviously on here, it was discussed that if that's Hardy scores, well, Hardy should have scored that header last night, shouldn't he?
He should have, he should have. I mean, we're toothless from a goal away from home. As simple as that. We've scored one goal away from home all season, and that's Whittaker from 25 yards out of anger. Just going through the comments, this young lad essay that they had last night.
Oh yeah,
great little player, and I think he's only 18, 19, something like that. So if Cardiff are showing faith in their youngsters, and Millwall are showing faith in their youngsters. Why can't we show faith in our youngsters?
Yeah, I think it's a strange one because Rooney has been really vocal on that, and I think it might well be what we see. I mean, at the end of the day, coming back off the international break, 2 away games is harsh, but it is what it is. You have to put up with it. A shocking performance against Cardiff, it made us look silly, and fair play to Cardiff, and then better performance against Millwall. But like I said, they really let us have the ball. And in the second half at the start, they tried to actually finish the game off. And then after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, decided, we'll just sit back a bit now and just hold them back, which they did very, very well. So, Yeah, I think, Issaka coming on last night probably had one little run which amounted to nothing. He had that shot, which I know you couldn't see because you were listening, but it wasn't an easy one. He was falling down. It's one of those ping pong in the boxes, and you were just someone toe poke it. But I feel that if he starts a game, then there's no pretense. If he comes on in a game where we're winning, then fantastic, because everybody's up for it. But I think if he starts a game or Finn starts a game, then it's a different mentality, and they're going to want to try and prove their worth, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, if you concede an early goal, then the home side are going to do all they can to sort of stop the flow of the play. We noticed a couple of times last night, some of their players going down with cramp and all that sort of stuff, if they have cramp. I think it's just, I nearly said it then. I'm going to say it, shithousery, because we were trying to get back into the game. We were sort of starting to play the ball around, and they're just down on the deck, aren't they, with cramp? And it stops the flow of the play, and it's like, yeah.
Part of me was almost glad at some points with that.
Yeah, but that's the sort of, not mentality, but that's experience, championship experience, isn't it? Though in Millwall, people like that are sort of established championship sides. We're still sort of finding our feet a bit, aren't we? Yeah. You got teams in and around us, Bristol City, Cardiff, and all that, who know that league very well, who know how to sort of affect games and stuff, and we just didn't cope with it. It's simple as that.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull up on if I can matches. I just want to look at evening Pixie, Ewan or Ian McCaffrey, whichever way I'm pronouncing that. Sorry. Yeah, why can't we win away? Simple. If we win away, top team. Well, Leeds could be that one. But looking ahead to Saturday, keeping still on Saturday. So sort of Preston's run of results recently, 2-2 against Norwich, of which that was Norwich coming back from being 2-0 down. So that's a bit of a kick in the balls, for them. And I think then coming off the back of that, if I just click my back button, Coventry, they beat them 1-0. Obviously, we got a draw against QPR on Tuesday night, thankfully. They drew against Burnley, beat Watford 3-0, who are up there. Millwall actually beat them 3-1 at the Den. So, in Blackburn, they drew 0-0 with. So it's going to be an interesting game. This, I'm glad in one sense Ryan Lowe isn't there anymore, because you'd think, this is just going to be a shoey when Stoke came down. But they're not. They're having a bit of an up and down situation. So, and where are they in the table? They are. Can we jump them if we win? Yeah. So it's a really big game again, isn't it, Marcus, for that one on Saturday? So I feel it could be very open, but I think Argyle just got to get in there and just grind out the result.
I think we just play a completely different way at home. For some reason, we just can't do anything away, because people think we played crap in the last two games, which we have, but our home form is totally different. It's bailing us out.
Is that because we always, it's a weird thing where we say that we play well against top sides, and obviously West Brom away we didn't do too bad, Burnley away we didn't do too bad, it was just 1-goal defeats, and then at home, when we beat the big sides, it was like, well,
Sunderland, didn't we?
We can do it. Say again?
Beat Sunderland, didn't we?
No, that's it, exactly. So so it is a strange one, which is why Leeds could be interesting. But what do we if we sort of go on?
I think the top teams go to kill us off. When teams are attacking us, we're all right. We can counter attack. When they score an early goal, they defend, and we don't seem to have a clue how to get through it.
Away from home, definitely. Yeah, that's the barrier, isn't it?
Even against Stoke, we shouldn't really have lost that one.
Yeah.
No, we did.
Schumacher there, wasn't it? Schumacher effect.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, the crowd's there. There's no question about that. It's not that they're not getting this. I mean, you look at Millwall and even Cardiff, and empty stadiums. I know Cardiff's a decent sized stadium, in fairness, but yeah, I'm trying to sort of think on Saturday that there's a point at which Rooney has to turn around and say, match minutes, there's going to be some. He's got to look at changes, and also with players that aren't mustering it. And Whittaker is a tough one if we go back to him, because there's so much sort of discussions about, well, people don't know what they're talking about, never played the game with Whittaker. Whittaker's off the ball has improved, but it's not his off the ball that we need him to improve to produce. And when you see him not going in on challenges, not like there was one time I think or two instances, one where we went on the attack, had a counter. He seemed to stop as he got over the halfway line, and in fairness, there might not be any players to pass it to, but then he then did the thing that we were always doing, pass it back to Gibson, who squares it to Zooks, who then squares it to Edwards, who then looks up, no one there, squares it back to Zooks. And then I think in the second half, it might have been one or the other, where a ball was being passed to him and he just waited for it. And then the player came in and nicked it off him. So maybe he just needs a rest just to clear his mind. And also just make him realise that he does have to fight for his place.
Absolutely.
No player should be undroppable. Maybe he thinks that he's undroppable, because he seems to be the only man who's first on the sheet. And if you can drop him and then say, well, Tegan Finn's good enough, put him in, see what he can do. Have Whittaker on the bench.
Yeah, I think because Whittaker could be effective, couldn't he, Andy, coming on as a sub, with tired legs.
You want to prove a point, won't he? If he's down to the bench, then he's going to want to chomp at the bit to get back in there. He wants to play football.
Yeah.
So if someone's in his place, someone like Tegan Finn, for instance, he's going to want his place back. He's not going to want to lose it to a young lad, is he?
You look at last night, that young lad. What's happened to Caleb Roberts?
Yeah, Roberts.
Well, he had that head injury.
He's injured at the minute.
Yeah, is it still that head knock he took on his head though? Because that was what the issue was.
Yeah, and Joe Hatch as well. What about Joe Hatch?
Yeah, well, that's just it. And and he scored, didn't he, Marcus, on that Saturday game that they played? Was it him or was it Finn that scored under 18s? But yeah, it's just I think it's. There's definitely options there. Rooney has said that or Shuttleworth, one of the two in recent interviews, that the squad depth, is there. I think obviously we know Bundu's up for a contract renewal, and supposedly, that's thank you for the gifts. Supposedly that's they are agreeing to an extension, and you're sort of thinking to yourself,
why?
Yeah. Other than to have a squad player, you are exactly thinking that, and I mean, I might be pulling that contract back in because there was nothing there, and that could have been a big decision for Rooney last night on how he performed, whether or not he does decide to sign him for another year, because he's on 8 to 10 grand a week or whatever it is. That's a big money to throw out, isn't it? What's Alfie Lloyd saying? Rooney has said the reason he leaves him on is because he has magic moments being far off it to be. Yeah, and absolutely, Alfie, and there's a point at which Rooney has to say, I've given you enough chances. So if he doesn't change it up, then people will just be constantly bringing that up. So Tommy's saying linesman cost Preston at Millwall and Burnley much better under Hecky, but not one away in 10. So look, I think Preston are going to smell blood, Tommy, because
as well.
because of the two defeats that we've had. So I wouldn't be surprised if Preston come right at us. They'll either come at us or they'll defend and frustrate us as they've seen other teams do. But if I was coming to Home Park right now, I would be saying, let's just have a go. Because you want the crowd, as soon as I think there's we stumble, I think you'll hear, sadly, a few boos going around. That's
if you get the first goal on Saturday, the heads will drop and the crowd will get on their back, and you'll see a different atmosphere at Home Park. If we get the first goal, 12th man will turn up, and we'll just go on and win the game comfortably. I think that's my opinion.
So what do you sort of? I'm not sort of rounding off now, but what do you think? Scoreline predictions. If I start with you, Ryan, what do you reckon? The outcome will be on Saturday.
Because we get the fans get behind the team, and I'd go for a 2-1.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I still want a clean sheet, but go on, Marcus.
Yeah, so do I.
Say again.
I want a clean sheet.
So, what do you reckon the score will be?
2-0 to us.
Yeah, and then Andy.
Right, so head on the block time here. If we score first, we'll go on and win it 3-0. There you go. If they score first, it'll be 2-1.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to win 3-0. There you go.
I'm gonna go 1-0. I never always bet against us, but I'm gonna go 1-0. And because I just think it could be just one of those off the back, but yeah, it could be one like a Norwich or where they can just go in and pit 3 away, and it'll be Morgan Whittaker that bloody scores all 3 of them. That would just.
I mean, we say we can't come from behind 1-0, but we were behind with Sunderland. We can do it at home. We just can't do it away.
Weren't we 1-0 down at Luton as well?
Were we?
Oh, hang on. Got me wondering now because I'm rubbish at memory like this. Let me.
No, we were at Sunderland.
I know we were.
Let me go and have a look. The first goal did go to. It was that penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the Sunderland.
So let me just send that message. Yeah, so I think I just want to see, even if it ends up being bad, and it could be that. And I know we said we want to try and stay positive, but the reality, it could be bad. I just want to see that there's effort there, and I want to see that if things don't start off very well, that Rooney can change the game. Not just bringing on subs, change the formation. Take, like Andy said, should we go 4-2-2? And all that sort of stuff. I think. Poor old Hardy, getting a bit of stick, but what can you do when there's no balls up to you? Just sit there and go, hello. So you can't blame him, but it's when you get those chances. And in fairness to Edwards, that was a superb ball that he put in. And there was just no power. And it was just straight out the goal. So, yeah, exactly. I don't know... I sort of said that we might not be long on this one, but because we don't want to conscious of repeating ourselves. And I think if we excuse me, if we look ahead to that Leeds game that's coming after Preston, is it likely to be Argyle do it against? We didn't do it against West Brom or Burnley away, but in this despair that's going on again, is it possible that we will do it at Elland Road?
I think we'll give a good account of ourselves, but I don't think we'll win up there.
Yeah. Let's have a look at what their home record is. So, Ryan, what do you think?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? You can't. It's hard to sort of predict because you're expecting the expected because nothing's changed for a long time, is it? And that's the embarrassing thing is Foster got us that win, and
he got us the first 2 away wins of the season.
Yeah, that's it. 2 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, but all the managers.
Do you remember what we said earlier on in WhatsApp chat? And I know you disagreed with this, Mike, and so did you, Marcus, about Schumacher. I mean, Schumacher did win games away from home, and with Stoke City this season, he won against a certain team away from home, so he can do it. Would you have him back again?
Yeah, but all the managers we've had in the Championship have all had one thing in common. None of them have had a plan B. If you mix it up against Leeds, do something different. Do it like a smash and grab.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think that? So here's the question back to them, Ryan. Why do you think that is? Why do fans get, belated for not understanding football? And it's fair enough. I mean, at the end of the day, but everybody's got their opinion. But why do you think it is that it seems to be that they can't think? Is Plan B bringing on the subs? Someone could argue that it is, but I think when we talk Plan B, people are talking about tactical changes, aren't they? But so why is it then that do you think that our managers seem to struggle with wanting to change it up that way?
I don't know. I mean, Plan B could be just bringing on fresh legs and going for it, but it's not always going to work. the same substitutes being changed every week. I mean, yeah, we're playing different teams, but who knows? Like,
Even money.
we could play a team of Leeds calibre next week and go and smash them, and then go and lose to Portsmouth.
Yeah, that would be the up and down yo-yo, wouldn't it? I mean, looking at Leeds' run, they've only lost once at home, and that was Burnley, fourth game in. So I think the difference, if you look at Burnley and West Brom, certainly Burnley sat off us again and just let us have the ball. So I do. For people, it looks like, yeah, we have great possession and all this sort of stuff. And as Marcus said, it's no good having all that possession if you don't do anything with it. But opposition players away from teams away from home are just deliberately letting us have the ball. They hold that goal, and Burnley did it, and they managed to get away with the points. It's whether or not Leeds do a Cardiff and decide to just go at it. If they do that, it could be painful. But equally, and again, it's all going to be down to that first goal. If the way Leeds play, it could open up opportunities for Argyle. So there's that to look at. But I said it, didn't I, before the game, Andy, Marcus? I said it's going to be all about chances tonight, and that's exactly what Aziz did. He was absolutely superb. Yeah, off the back of Mumba, bless him, wrong studs again, but it's a mistake. But then those three defenders getting sucked in was embarrassing, leaving it open in the 6-yard area. But it is so much about taking your chances. And at home, it's probably fair to say, Andy, isn't it, that when we played some of these games, they've been end to end because teams have had chances and our defence has been absolutely solid. But you slip up in one of those, and again, the mental issue could kick in, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that Luton game was a prime example. Luton, I thought, weren't a bad side. Sunderland weren't a bad side. Well, they were a bad side because we beat them. But you know what I mean?
What is that?
No, it's when we're at home, 12th man will turn up and get the players, fired up. And we've shown that twice at home now against two good sides. One just come down from the Premiership in Luton, and Sunderland, who are top of the league at the minute. And we beat Sunderland when they were top of the league. And so that mentality is there. We can do that. We can go to teams like that and play and get wins. So who's to say that we can't go to Leeds and pick up a win? I don't think we will, but who's to say we won't?
No, and also looking at the table, I mean, depending on other results, naturally, of course, but, you sort of get a win on Saturday, and depending on those results, you're jumping up in numbers. As you said last night when Millwall sort of scored, you went, they've jumped up to 13th, from where they were just below us in 21st. So it is, this league is still very, very open, but the gaps are going to start to spread. Before this next international break, and like we said, we've got that away game to Leeds, and we're home to Portsmouth, and then is it Derby away, isn't it? And then it's the next break.
Yeah, we've got to be prepared for that. We've got two more difficult away games coming up in Derby and Leeds. We've got to get maximum points at home. Against Preston and Portsmouth. That's beyond end. 6 points from that, and you've got up to I don't know, 14th, 15th maybe. If you start losing those games, then you're being sucked into a relegation fight. Because Cardiff, someone said in the chat earlier on about Cardiff, what sort of run Cardiff going to go on. They could go on for a decent run now.
If you carry the momentum.
Yeah, 2 or 3 wins, or two wins and a draw in the last 3 games, is it?
Yeah, and they've got West Brom at home next. West Brom away next. So that won't be easy. Here's a question, and I sort of threw it in our chat earlier. Marcus, I'll go to you on this one. So we changed the kit last night. There was a bit of a debate about the white kit being jinxed, so we played in yellow, and I commented on that just before kick-off. And I thought, okay, that'll be interesting. Obviously didn't change the outcome. Is it a time at which then where we feel this isn't just ability, this is now a mental thing? Should we be looking at bringing services into the club to try and sort of get the players' minds focused? Because other clubs, I don't know if it was you, Marcus, said that do that. But yeah, Marcus, what do you think on that? Or was that just getting silly?
there's got to be a mental block there because it's happening too often. It's got to be something because even Cooper mentioned it when he said about the distance from Sheffield United to Portsmouth, and he was going on about we do that every week at Argyle, you know.
Yeah.
And he was going on about how difficult it was. If you're thinking about that, that's uphill struggle before you start. So something's got to be done.
Yeah, definitely. Andy, as a counsellor, like, you know, what would you sort of say looking at that?
Look into my eyes. The eyes, not around the eyes, into my eyes. 3, 2, 1.
I'm gonna win.
No, it's you've got to
You can win.
you've got to try to keep yourself sort of going mentally.
Yeah, go on.
We need some of that, don't we? We need some chili oil in the background. But no, you need to have that mentality. All right, you're going to go away for a lot of matches, 26 matches in a season, right? So you're going to have to go, 23 matches in a season. So you're going to have to go and do that, whether you like it or not. And people like Middlesbrough, people like Sunderland, they have to do exactly the same. They have to come down to us. So it cuts both ways. Okay, we travel probably the furthest in the league at the minute because we're of a situation where we are. But you got teams like Sunderland who have to travel as well. Yes, they travel hundreds of miles. So you've got to sort of have that togetherness. And I'm thinking that if you've got that togetherness in the team, which I think we have, then it'll go well for us. If you haven't got the togetherness and there's one or two people in the background just, showing dissent maybe, or, the bad apple on the cart sort of thing, then that's when it starts to go wrong. And I think with the Sissoko at the moment, he's not setting a very good example, and Mr. Rooney's not setting a very good example, because of getting sent off and red carded and stuff. So we got to tighten up on our discipline. We've got the worst disciplinary record for sending us off in the league at the minute, and that needs to change because suspensions are going to cost us.
Yeah, although I don't believe we got a yellow card last night, but I think half a dozen of the Millwall players did.
We did get one.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. He did for those two challenges late in the game, didn't he?
I'm glad you're here, Marcus.
So that's absolutely the stato, the fountain of all facts and knowledge. I think
what I would do is send in Andy for the counselling. I think the players need it.
I think they should all come on the podcast. They should all come on here, and we should all have a session where they can come on here. But so absolutely. But I think, Ryan, how do you look at these sort of situations on psychological, and mental sort of support, for something like this? Do you think it's just all a load of tosh or worthy of exploring?
We need to explore on it. I mean, Rooney's not the best person to explore on it because obviously he did have a real bad disciplinary record as well. So, but sometimes it might be about being passionate as well. Some players, obviously the challenge that Sissoko, it wasn't the challenge, it was for shoving Perry NG, but in my opinion, I think that both of them should have been booked, or if one was going to be sent off, then the other had to be sent off. But does that change the calibre of games sometimes? No. Because it is hard to play against 10 men sometimes. I mean, QPR have seen that both away games this season and last season. When we went down to 10 men last season with Dan Scar getting sent off, and then 9 men with Issaka and...
Issaka was late, wasn't it? I'm always a great believer that as long as you're not playing in Cardiff, we just folded. So then they took advantage. But I'm a great believer that, losing one man doesn't make a massive difference as long as you're in the game. Because you sort of, your mindset, you get more actually determined, especially if it's a sending off that you feel is unjust. The sending off as Sissoko would have really pissed me off as a player on that pitch because it was reckless and unnecessary. So so that you could say Forshaw's it was a bit of a silly moment, but it wasn't a straight red. Obviously, it was a second yellow. But I think for me that doesn't always change a game when you lose one man. But this whole, here's another point. You've got Leeds International Airport, haven't you? So would you actually say, do you know what? let's just debunk the myth. Let's just fly up and see what happens.
Who knows?
Against travelling up by however they will go. I mean, that's a long journey. So however they will look to travel up there, you got to almost say, well, maybe consider ruling it out and say, guys, we're going to fly you up this time. For those that always say we should do that where we can, that is not cheap to do, because you obviously got all your flights, all your hotel accommodation. It's not just the 11 players, it's then obviously Rooney, Shuttleworth, the backroom staff, media to a degree, but you could send them up in the car or on the coach. So it's not cheap, but you just wonder whether or not it's worth doing it to see if that actually has an impact and has a difference.
But they all stay overnight anyway, don't they?
Yeah, they do stay overnight.
Travel up in the morning.
Apart from Cardiff or Bristol, that sort of game, you wouldn't stay overnight. But they
You
do
want to
stay.
stay Cardiff all night? I wouldn't. It's a dive, a shithole.
I
On a sheep.
mean, for Leeds,
All right, City.
I would fly up from Exeter, and I'd let the media staff, because we've got another game on the Tuesday, haven't we? After Leeds.
So the Derby one. Is it?
No, it's Portsmouth.
Oh, was that a Tuesday game? I thought that was a Saturday one. So
yeah, so it's like you want to get them refreshed straight back in, because obviously they want to be back in training on the Sunday straight after the game to see where you can improve or what happened in the game. And
yeah. Well, I'm just gonna have a look. And Callum, always ribs about the fact of still happy with Rooney. In answer to that question, and as a serious point, because it's always going to come up. Certainly when when you're sort of rattled and lost a couple of games, you can't blame Rooney for Cardiff. And last night, you sort of. Mumba's mistake sort of led, like Obafemi, if he'd have hit that ball away, if Hardy had hit that ball away after the mistake when we had the chance after Cardiff, after Millwall went 1-up, because we still had a bit of play even after that goal. After Millwall went 1-up, we still had a bit of play even after that. Oh, that was Andy having feedback. We're getting feedback from you, Andy. So yeah, unless you want to shoot out and come back in, but because we'll be done in a second, and Andy will do his championship chats. But I just sort of think for me, as long as the home form continues and he does find a solution in some way for us to at least play better and not fold away from home, and I don't class having possession 60% but doing F all with it as a performance, I've got no issues. And it would take a significant collapse which would lead to other issues going on, in my opinion, say in the run up to Christmas, for Rooney to be under pressure and to go. So from the way I look at it, as I just bring Andy back in, I don't for me, I still don't have an issue with him there. What's your thoughts, Ryan?
I don't have an issue with him. I mean, he's shown that he's passionate about this football club. I mean, his red card, it was a silly red card to get, but can you understand why? Yeah, I can actually understand why. There was a foul in the build-up to the goal, and he's going to show passionate and be like, well, why was that allowed? Because that technically was a foul on Hardy.
Yeah, but every club.
Rooney.
Yeah, every club.
The big thing with Rooney, okay, he's got the dressing room, okay? He's got those players laughing and smiling. Those results were good for us, good for morale, and there's a tight unit down there. And I think now we've got that tight unit again. When it was under Foster, we knew it went all totally wrong. Okay, we won away from home with Foster once, I think, but
Twice.
It wasn't really.
Twice.
It wasn't really twice. Yeah, sorry, twice. And it wasn't really what we had. I'm losing my thought.
Andy, just look at OLW24's comment. So, and I think I'd sort of touched on a couple of reasons without seeing a comment originally, but there's two. Evening, by the way. Why is everyone so reluctant to blame Rooney for a defeat, but you label him brilliant when you win? And also, your home form isn't sustainable for a squad as poor in depth as you have. Well, in answer to the first question, because you can't look at those two games and say that's all manager when we've had games where we've been absolutely superb against top sides, and as we've all alluded to, our away form with all our recent managers has for whatever reason been a struggle. And in answer to the second question, I don't think you can argue that. No one's home or away form is ever sustainable. But at the end of the day, time will tell. And it may well be that the home form does still stick it out for us. But a few injuries, it's a problem.
The question about the squad being poor in depth, I don't get what you're on about there. We had a really strong bench last night. There's some good players on the bench. He's just got to get this combination right. And once he gets that combination right of players that he knows is going to perform for him and do well for him, then we've got a good side there. And we still have a strong bench.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Get that depth. Yeah,
call it gaslighting, call it what you want. Look, we're prepared to. We're more than happy to give our reasons behind those comments. We're not delusional. We're not wearing green tinted glasses. We're not bottom of the league. We're not in the relegation zone. And you might say no, you're not yet. But it's like I said, it only takes one win to suddenly jump several places, and then suddenly other teams are then in the bottom. So and I think if you come on and you just constantly lambast a manager, if we felt like Foster that he had lost the players, there was tension around the club, all that sort of stuff, I would agree with what you two are saying. But at the end of the day, there isn't that, as Andy's just pointed out.
Same as last season, isn't it, guys? There were three teams worse than us, and sadly for you guys, one of them was Birmingham. And they're in League One now, so get over it. Just go to League One, Chad, instead of coming here, guys.
You also got to look at Birmingham, which we haven't got. They're spending 20 million on a player for League One.
Yeah, and just going on to LW's last point there about when you start on with Bundu and Wright, you definitely don't have sufficient depth in the squad. Well, no, but as an Argyle sort of fan and squad, when you don't have millions just to throw away at players, we would actually argue that we have options. Let me word it that way. Whereas before we have at times struggled. Yeah, those options clearly last night I felt right. Although wasn't able to do a huge amount, but was probably one of the standout players in terms of trying to at least have a go. And Bundu, as I said earlier on, before you joined, it shouldn't even be in the squad at the minute, in my opinion.
All this stuff with Birmingham, right, in the chat, right? You're blaming Rooney for you getting relegated last season. Rooney was nowhere near your club at the end of relegation. You just slid down that slippery slope, and you're blaming everything but your own players who didn't want to adopt a style of football which was going to benefit you.
Yeah, and your own management.
It was never Rooney's fault.
No, it wasn't.
He didn't even get the to make his
tried to implement some football at Birmingham City, right? Which is what he's implemented at Argyle, and we're playing. Okay, sometimes it's not pretty, but a lot of the times there's a lot of possession-based football. You didn't want to adopt that at Birmingham, and this is why you went down, mate. It's as simple as that.
No, so I tell you what, I'm gonna end it there, because what I was gonna say, Andy, is Andy's gonna go. Obviously, we'll leave this room. Andy's gonna come back in. Probably will be joined by Ryan and Marcus. I've got other stuff to do, but he's gonna talk championship chats. Oh, you can't join actually in League One. Oh well, but other than that, Andy, look, we appreciate you. People can come on and say what they want as long as they keep the banter sensible. At the end of the day, we can all take it. We've all been in rocky and horrible positions, so everybody can give it and take it. But I'm going to leave it there because we have said enough on the situation. We will go into Saturday against Preston, see what happens, and then see who does and doesn't come back in on Sunday night when we do our post-match on that one. So look, Ryan, Marcus, Andy, thank you very much. Guys, like I said, Andy will go into his live next to talk about any championship club in his championship chat, so join him if you can. But Other than that, folks, we'll leave it there, and we'll see you over the weekend.
See you
Cheers,
later.
guys. Thanks for coming in, guys, and Birmingham fans. You're all welcome.